what we as a fire team are up to, because while while Nick has not been really grinding it out as much as Brandon and I have. Brandon and I last week managed to do 5 raids in 5 days, and then we snuck a dungeon in there just for kicks and giggles, and we did one last yesterday as well. And I thought what we would do on this edition of Happy Hour is talk a little bit about raids and dungeons in detail, and have Nick be our guiding light through this. Basically, just a Q&A
I
about.
believe Mark has opinions.
And Marv has opinions.
Marv has a lot of opinions.
Marv has a lot of opinions. I know for a fact Marv has got probably the dirtiest boots of any of us, because my boots are clean whenever I go on a raid with Marv, because he's carrying my butt through most of them. But yeah, it's so we're gonna share some of those opinions and some of those thoughts as we are as we go into this into this episode. So let's talk a little bit about raids, about what makes the raid what it is. Nick, you're about to go on ahead and chime on in.
Yeah, I am, because I'm going to stop you before we even get started.
Perfect.
Because
he quits. We're done. We're not doing this.
And we're out. Thank you very much.
No, there's
Brandon,
something
take
that
us out with the attribution.
something that needs to be said before we get into everything.
Okay, go for it.
Which is happy birthday to the Queen,
Oh,
Courtney Taylor's birthday today.
Courtney Taylor. On the time of this recording, she is leveled up. She is leveled up, and there we go. Thank you very much.
Vin Diesel and Grant Bowler yesterday, by the way. So
yeah,
you know Vin Diesel is. Grant Bowler was the lead in Defiance. So, anyways, my Twitter buddy. Okay, so raids and dungeons. We're going to talk about both of those things. And before we get into why we do those things, can somebody explain what they are and what the differences are?
Okay, let's lead in with you, Brandon. Talk about the what they are.
So raids are 6-man fire teams going into any sort of mission with mechanic heavy encounters, and typically they finish off with a boss. Sometimes that boss is hard. It really depends.
Depends on the raid.
Yeah, there's different mechanics for every raid, like how Last Wish is entirely reliant on symbols. Crown of Sorrow is entirely reliant on this one specific buff that you have to trade between people. Yep. They're all these different endgame activities that you need to get 6 people in for, and they have their own unique reward sets from each one.
And
then dungeons are literally just half of that.
Yeah. I was going to say that is a key point that you touched on, Brandon. For those of you who are new to Destiny or curious Destiny curious, if you will, is that raids are the end game. This is where it's all leading up to, and actually when you look at the prophecy dungeon, it was something that was brought up actually by Marv. I think the last time we were in the prophecy dungeon, is that if we don't see or get hints of what is coming, or where we're going to wind up, the prophecy dungeon is kind of it's like the end game material that would be for nothing if we didn't have a raid or something that brought us back to the final boss room, which is in my opinion, and I would even go so far, and I don't want to get ahead of myself because I know we're going to cover prophecy in the second half of the podcast. But the prophecy has got probably some of the most beautiful maps and most beautiful territories ever constructed by the Destiny crew. But that's where all this is going. It's where all the activity is going. It's going towards one particular direction, and one of the biggest differences between the prophecy, between a raid and a dungeon, is that as Brandon mentioned, the raid is a 6-man operation. The dungeon is a 3-man op, and it's a little easier to make a dungeon happen. But I would actually put dungeons and raids on the same difficulty level. The most difficult thing I think of a raid is just trying to organize 6 schedules to make it work.
Yeah,
and that is probably one of the toughest things I think about it. But apart from that, I mean I've been raiding since D1. I've been raiding competently since D2, and
which raid started that?
Hey, don't you get
no, there we go. No, that's fair. No, that's a fair. If you want to know, where I felt like I actually leveled in some sort of competency, it was with Eater of Worlds. Eater of Worlds. That's the one where I felt like, okay, I get this. It clicked with me.
It's pretty easy.
It is. What's a raid layer? We can split that hair when we get to it. But I love doing raids. I love raids.
They're
I love
fun,
raids.
yeah.
Yeah, they're an
Also,
absolute blast.
A big difference is every dungeon can be soloed to some capacity.
True.
They can be completed solo.
Yeah. The D1 dungeons could be soloed, but D2
There were no dungeons in D1.
Sorry, man, I'm doing this already, aren't I? The D1 raids could be soloed, but
at least Crota could. It wasn't on purpose that you could solo them.
No, no, it wasn't. It wasn't on purpose, but I think the developers over at Bungie made it a point to make the D2 raids a little more team based, team oriented.
Oh yeah.
Which I don't mind. I think it's I think it's great that you can solo a dungeon, but when it comes to raids, I think raids should be they should be a team affair. I really think that's part of what makes a raid absolutely essential, unique from all the other type of activities you can do.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we'll talk about why some of them are reliant on a team, because I want to get into some of that in a minute. But you both, I think, sort of answered my next question, which would have been, were there raid layer? So what's the difference between a raid and a raid layer? Let's get that out there too.
I'm going to go ahead and take that one. Brandon can always correct me if I'm wrong. Raid layers tend to be. Well, he does that well. Raid layers tend to be a little faster. If raid, they tend to be shorter, more compact. They almost feel like a strike.
No.
You don't think so?
Spire's a raid layer.
Okay, forget I said that. What I was going to. So let me put it this way. In D1, I think people would say that Crota was probably closer to a raid layer than an actual raid. There was that great debate about, it feels more like a strike, but I never felt like it felt like a strike. But I do feel like if they had made a raid layer, it would have been Crota in D1.
It was by far the easiest.
It was the easiest,
sure.
Yeah.
But there were no dungeons and there were no raid layers in D1.
No, there were
Correct.
not. No, there were not.
Okay.
It was basically strikes, nightfalls, and raids.
And if we're trying to equate this to people who actually leave their keyboard or their console at any point in time and get out to exercise, a raid is playing a round of golf. A dungeon is playing a round of par 3.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. And
here for the analogies, but
there you go. But I would say that a raid layer feels more compact and is easier. Big quotes around easier, depending on the raid layer itself. I mean, like I feel like it'd be easier to do a pickup game with a raid layer than it is to do a raid. With a raid, you're like I want to plan this out. I want to make sure we got a good team. We're solid. A raid layer, you're like, yo, what are you doing, Brandon? I'm getting a group together for an Eater of Worlds. Brandon be like, absolutely. I said, hey, I'm getting together for a Spire. No, no, just no.
No, that would be your reaction.
That would be my reaction. I was all right. Go ahead.
You're right about raid layers, but the thing is, there's only ever been 2, and it's because the Leviathan is the first 3 raids in Destiny 2.
Right.
It's because Leviathan was the first one, and then they were like, we don't want to have to make a whole different setting, so we're just going to throw you back to the Leviathan for Curse of Osiris and Warmind.
Yeah.
So they were just like, yeah, let's do this. And then they threw in raid layers, which are really just discount raids, and in my opinion, an excuse to not make a new destination or idea, I guess, because it's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I know that when raid layers were introduced, I'm like, okay, so this is sort of like I think that's another great analogy. It's the discount layer. It's the discount raid. It's the par 3 of raids, and I kind of feel that maybe dungeons were a better solution than
Definitely, yeah.
than raid layers. I get it. The Leviathan was supposed to be vast. It was supposed to be this massive area, but I think they were counting too much on people going, yeah, let's go back to the Leviathan. I think part of the charm of raids from D1 was that it was a different territory each time. It was a different experience. The only exception to that being with King's Fall and Crota's End. Right?
No.
Yeah, Crota's End. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but even then, King's Fall was on the Dreadnought, which was a new thing to Destiny at the time. Meanwhile, 3 raids in a row were the Leviathan.
And I think that was a bit short-sighted on Bungie's part. And yeah, I mean, so let's
we can move on from this
because move on from that. Yeah, I know.
Fine. How many raids were there in D1? 4?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was Vault of Glass, Crota's End, King's Fall, and Wrath of the Machine. In that order.
That was the D1.
You got a favorite in D1?
Vault of Glass.
Everybody? I know you love it.
Obviously.
Or Wrath of the Machine, because I know that was...
See, for me,
I never did Wrath.
Oh, you didn't? I thought you did.
See, for me, it was Wrath. It was I felt that Wrath was... It had the most amazing visuals. Yes, Vault of Glass was beautiful. But
the cosmetics are what really, like, I was like, oh, I need to see that.
Because
it just looks so cool.
But I mean, when it comes to favorite raids from D1, I would always go to Wrath because I love the aesthetic of Siva, and I love the I love the challenges that was the challenges that was thrown out, and I love the fact that it is just it's just that epic feel. It was so impressive. It was such an impressive raid, and
definitely,
and it broke my heart that I got so. In my experience with Wrath, I made it to the boss fight. I was ready to go, and then D1 shut down servers for maintenance. But I mean, I already there was no big reveal. I mean, I knew what was coming, but it was a great end game for the Rise of Iron expansion that had come out then.
Yeah,
so that was D1.
Enhance, consume, replicate.
Exactly.
All right, so how many, let me think. If we're counting raids and raid layers, how many are there in D2?
So there's the 3 Leviathans. So Leviathan, Eater of Worlds, Spire Stars.
Yeah.
Last Wish, Scourge, Crown, and Garden of Salvation. So 7.
Not necessarily in that order, but...
no, that was the order.
Oh, you're right, it was. You're absolutely right.
Apparently you're doing another raid because Marv thinks it's criminal that you haven't done Wrath.
Well, we're hoping that with no, it is not okay. It is not okay that I didn't finish Wrath of the Machine. I'm ready for Wrath of the Machine to come back. I would love to. I know that they're talking about bringing back Vault of Glass. I do think that
that's happening.
Yeah,
that's happening. Yeah, it is.
I know a lot of folks are. I would not mind, and I will honestly say I would love to do Vault of Glass with a kinder raid team. With a much kinder rate.
That's hard.
I think that is fair.
I'm kidding, Marv.
But
so okay, so you guys did 5 of them. Are there any of the 7 you mentioned that you have not done?
No, that was it.
Last Wish.
And that's the one we're talking about.
Yep. And I haven't actually completely finished a garden. I've only done the boss fight.
So when you went for
you get your jacket that still doesn't show.
Yes. So in reality, I should have one sleeve of the jacket.
Well, Garden of Salvation, I think that's the most recent of raids, and I absolutely love it. I think it's going to be harder to find a team right now. Garden is starting to have that Leviathan kind of feel because I remember turning to Lulu and saying to her, "Hey, when are you guys doing another Garden raid again? I'd love to get in that." She's like, "Yeah, it's Garden." And and I'm like, oh no, it has been a while. It has been a while since we've had a new raid, but with
not until November.
Not until November, but with Garden, I think is absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely Yes. Marv is absolutely right. Every Monday she has open raid slots. So if you want to do the entire thing, by all means, Brandon, sign up. Sign up and get in there. I'm planning on doing it because
It's just Vex Gambit. I don't.
yeah, I know it's Vex Gambit, but the thing is, you get that sweet raid armor, and I love the raid armor. The raid armor, I would put the raid armor and the prophecy armor right next to each other. They're absolutely gorgeous sets, and yeah, I've got a couple pieces of that. I gotta get that again. So yeah, Garden of Salvation has again, it's very much reminiscent, at least for me, it's reminiscent of Wrath of the Machine because it has that very epic feel about it. It is some of the most gorgeous architecture ever designed by the folks. There's this one particular area you go through in the raid where it's the only way I can describe it is it's like a cyber windmill. It's a giant cyber windmill that you have to jump.
I've been there. It's
to get
crazy.
It's crazy beautiful. Beautiful. And Marv did bring it. Since Marv's bringing it up in chat, I do want to say a quick shout out to Lulu. She tweeted this morning that she has been tested positive for COVID-19. So we are keeping her in our thoughts. She's on the front lines. She works with kids in pediatric units at the hospital where she lives, and we are keeping her. The fire team are keeping her in our hearts and in our thoughts, and she'll be good. She'll be right. All right, back to you, Nick.
Okay. Of the ones that you've done, because now you've done a bunch. I watched a handful of them. I haven't watched all of them. I have that kind of time. What favorite? So 2-part question.
All right.
Do you have a favorite boss, and do you have a favorite mechanic?
Oh, that's good. That
is a good question.
That is good.
Thank you. Yeah, I've done this before. I don't know if you know that, Mr. Morris.
No, yeah, I do. You got that. I would say that I can't believe these words are going to leave my lips, but my favorite mechanic is the mechanic in the boss that's actually done throughout.
Say it.
Crown of Sorrow. I love that mechanic. There was just something. And I'll tell you why. And I know this might swell that young man's ego, but it's true. I have run Crown of Sorrow before, and Crown of Sorrow, it to me, is the most intimidating of all the raids. I feel intimidated by that raid. It scares the crap out of me.
It's because of that big belly the boss has.
Big belly, big old fenderless belly. But I will tell you this: if I can run that raid with Brandon, I will be happy, because it was just, when you've got a team and you got a teammate that you really click with, it's just you can just feel it, and like there were times where I was heading back to the swap point without Brandon even telling me. I'm turning around and Brandon's like, "Okay, T, we're swapping." I said, "On the way." And it was just back and forth, and and if you would have told me that Brandon would be the player that I would sync up with the hardest, I'd be like, I don't know, because Brandon and I have butted heads. No, I know that's the thing. Brandon and I have butted head often.
It's all in good fun.
I know it's all in good fun, but man, in this situation, I was just like, I want Brandon by my side. I'm not leaving my wingman,
He injected himself in that too. Like when you'd be like, "Okay, I'll go left," and Brandon immediately would be like, "Okay, I'll go left, back left," or whatever. And then I just kind of saw him. He was either wingmanning you or shadowing you in a way that, like, he was just kind of like leading the witness a little bit, which was fun.
That's definitely what I was doing. Yeah.
But there were moments where, like, for instance, in the one thing where you have to go up into the space and
the boss fight for Spire.
Yeah, but there were 6 of you, and at one point 4 people are yelling at T over and over again the same thing, like whatever it was, and Brandon just goes, like, in Brandon's in his Barry White voice, he was like, "Yeah, you have to wait a second, and then you can do this." And but you heard that, like, above it's the It's the signal versus noise problem, which is everybody shouting at you, but you knew to listen for him because he was just going to tell you one time in his very therapeutic voice.
And that therapeutic, very white tone.
And the Zen master that he gets from mom. T, this is blood. And it was like, cool. And then you did it. But it was, meanwhile.
Marv with the ultimate analogy. Brandon is the siren calling T to the shore.
Yeah. And now he's got a man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But it was all the other voices like just static. And then the other thing is, man, your kid, holy cow, like the Marv level mouth.
Oh yeah, I know. Believe me, I know. And I partially blame the public school system in Prince William County. I also blame, I've also blamed myself. I will own it. I will openly blame myself because, man, there have been times where I can always tell when the kiddo is in Crucible. When the kiddo is in Crucible, that is when the salt really comes to the surface. And I've heard her say things that make me go, dang. But I do know she can control it because my mother was visiting, and she's on the way, and I walk in, and I go, "You're doing Crucible today, right?" And the kiddo went, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay, listen to me very carefully. You can't be doing the salt. You can't. You've got to keep it under control." I didn't hear a peep out of her, albeit she was as red as your tank top, Nick. But to be fair,
my gnarly nerd tank top.
The gnarly nerd tank top, where if you use HHFTT10 at checkout, you can get 10% off your order. So anyway, yeah. That was the thing. But that is one of the things that I think is also super key when you're doing a raid. You've got to have clear, quality comms. You can go into Iron Banner, you could go into Crucible, with the exception of trials or elimination or comp, and just be shooting the shit back and forth, having a good time. But when you get into a raid, that's a higher level of play where you'd be like, all right, we're on comms now, focus in, let's do what we need to do.
You mentioned what your favorite mechanic was, but you didn't by name, but you didn't say what the behavior was, what that actual mechanic was.
Right. So
Brandon didn't give his either. So
right. So we're going to focus on mechanic first. So the mechanic I really dig, is it's where so there's a pedestal with an orb in it, and what you have to do is you have to what is called pass the blessing, or the buff. And you run up to the orb, you shoot the orb, and when you have the blessing, this is how you transfer it to the other person.
It's called Witch's Blessing.
Witch's Blessing. Yes, to be specific. And for those of you who are listening to the podcast and you're new to Destiny, you're curious about this these mechanics, you'll notice that you have the blessing when you look over to the left-hand side and you see text popping in and going out. You'll see it say Witch's Blessing, and then it's a countdown clock. And you have it for roughly, I want to say 45
seconds. It's 60 seconds.
60 seconds, that's right.
Yes.
So it usually rounds up. So you're basically passing the buck, as Nick said just in chat. And you're able to kill specific ads or aliens coming in and out.
It's like a rift in dimension kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like you can only kill enemies that are blessed if you're blessed,
right.
and enemies that aren't blessed if you aren't blessed.
If your and if your partner is not carrying the Witch's Blessing, they can kill the other ads. So you're basically working together very, very much in synchronicity with one another, and about roughly around 20 seconds, and that's a good time. Some people wait as long as 15 seconds, but that 5-second buff is it's cutting it close. Mm-hmm. So at about 20 seconds, that's when you head back to the altar with the orb. And then you pass the blessing again, and so you're just basically running back and forth, and like I said, when you have a really, really tight wingman, I've run Crown of Sorrow before. In fact, shout out to that guy in our chat, the Big Marvinsky. Marv got a team together for my first ever run, and we never finished it. And I remember at the end, I just felt drained, and I said, how did I do? And Marv was like, honestly, T, you did better than I expected. And I didn't take that as an insult. That was I took that as a high compliment, because That is a very intimidating raid, but when we ran it with Sonny, and I ran that particular mechanic with Brandon, I felt like I was like, this is what it feels like when it clicks. So that's my favorite mechanic.
Is it back and forth? Because there was one I thought that you had to pass to everybody on the team. Or is that a different raid?
There's one jump encounter where it's like that.
It's the jump encounter.
You start with it. You start with the 3 people start with a buff, and then you have to jump while destroying different crystals, which require both a person with and without the buff to shoot or punch. Okay. And then every once in a while there was a checkpoint with the thing where you could swap the buff, and you had to make it there in time to swap it, so that everyone was standing there and they would all switch, whether they had it or not.
And go ahead. And this is what I mean by intimidating. This is what I mean by intimidating. While you're doing this passing of the witch's blessing, there's a jump puzzle involved. So yeah, that's intimidating AF. And
plus the first one there was only one well to switch with.
Right.
So everyone had to go there at the same time and switch as well, and then go back to their spots.
And you had a relatively inexperienced team when you were doing that, because I think for 3 or 4 people it was the first time that they were doing it.
Yeah.
That might have been Spire. 4 people hadn't done Spire.
No, it was Spire. That was Spire.
I think it was just me and UT that didn't finish it before.
You guys are talking about Crown of Sorrow?
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah. That's Galrun, right?
Yeah, Galrun.
Yes.
So that,
you know how old Galrun is?
He might be my favorite boss. Yeah.
Really?
And this is why.
Really? Okay, I want to hear this.
Is why.
Do you know how old? Yeah. Do you know how old Galrun is when you face him in that?
I do not know.
He's like 4 hours old. Like, he's created, he's loyal to Callus, and then they put the Crown of Sorrow on him, and he goes instantly insane. And so, like, Callus loses control of him, and he's like, you know how I could take care of this problem? Guardians. So the whole backstory on him. So I was reading it, and I'm like, everybody thinks he's centuries old. And you're like, no, he's like, yeah, you're right. Mark, he's like 4 hours old when you face it. It's a hilarious part of the story. He doesn't even make it into the lore book for like the physical lore book that came when like he's not one of the traders because he hasn't been around long enough.
Right.
So that one's yep, that's right.
So
Marv, on the lore.
Marv's on the lore. So is that why B? Is that why Galron's your favorite?
Yeah, he might be my favorite for boss.
You have right hand, left hand. Like the duality of that was really weird to watch. Because I'd be like, I would lose it so fast. Like, are joking in the chat window, and it's kind of like, yeah, just clear ads. Like, I know how to punch the roll. Like, leave me down here. And you guys,
the problem is with that, like, everyone has to punch one of the deceptions or punch the crystals every once in a while.
Right. That's right.
And there's like with Crown, there's always something that you have to be doing.
Yeah. If you're standing still and you're doing nothing, you're doing something wrong.
I'll stop punching throw when you stop cursing. I know they explode.
That earned that.
My favorite bounty from B1, which is punch melee 10 curse draw without dying. I love that skill. Still one of the things I think is
so that's your favorite boss. I have a favorite boss, but what is your favorite what's your favorite mechanic? Yeah.
All right. Well,
it's the gathering of the moats, isn't it? Judge? It's the gathering of the moats.
No. I'm gonna get hate for this one. I really like the mechanic for Spire.
Really?
Yeah.
The boss fight mechanic?
Yeah. The boss fight mechanic was really cool to me. I think it's a
visually
fun
cool.
thing.
It is visually cool.
It's visually awesome.
Yeah.
But it's the granted, if you screw up once, the entire thing is thrown off entirely.
Yeah, it's a house of cards.
I like the idea of there's 3 people picked, only one of them has to go. You have to figure out what the right symbol is. It's the carrying of the blessing, the swapping, the blessing, the orb, and then swap. I just think it's a fun fight to me, as long as everything goes right. And then the satisfaction of killing that goddamn boss.
This is what I want. This is what Sonny needs to see. It's quality over quantity. Like that's funny because Brandon, like, he's cursed once this entire show.
Right.
But oh my God, when he got the osprey, that will that'll be like something I
Yeah.
tell my grand.
Oh yeah,
you know what?
yeah.
You know when your dad would.
Why didn't we isolate that moment?
It was on a
I
drive.
think we
I
did.
should have
Yeah,
thought we
Like,
did. Oh, I
it
can't.
was on my drive that got wiped.
Oh, well, there.
Give it to somebody to try to save it, and it's not. There's nothing left of it.
It's
That's too
gone.
bad. That's
Yeah.
too bad. Well, see, the thing is, I think where I was getting frustrated, and I don't mind owning it, where I was getting frustrated is when people were saying stand on the plate. And I think if it had been more specific, like if someone had said door plate or starting plate or plate door or something like that, I think I would have been a little more with it. It was frustrating because people were saying, T, stand on the plate, stand on the plate. And I was standing on the plate, but it was the wrong plate. And that type of thing makes it almost, it makes me feel like, this is where the insecurity comes out. It makes me feel like I'm being set up to fail, because when people say standing on the plate, and I'm like, I am standing on the plate, and it's the wrong plate. I get triggered. Now I'm gonna Marv actually beat me to the punch before I could say it. My favorite boss though is Riven. In fact, I would even double down and say Last Wish is my favorite of all the raids. I absolutely love Last Wish. It is the J.R.R. Tolkien of raids. It is epic. It is sweeping. It is it has everything that I want in a raid. Yes, even the jump puzzle.
You're gonna run it. You're gonna run it twice more because Brandon's got to do it himself.
And yes,
he's got to make me an omelet.
I have done Riven. I have done the Riven cheese.
We might have to do the eggs twice, because I think I'm also only the raid eggs away from Chronicler as well.
Okay.
And I love doing it. And I now that I see them in chat, I would love to be there for Spence's first raid.
Oh yeah.
They have been really enjoying the Destiny 2 experience, and we're going to put a link in the show notes to their first ever. It was a tutorial. It was called Destiny 2 for Noobs, and Spence commentates it, and it's raw and it's rough around the edges, and I absolutely love it. And it's exceptional. It's exceptional. It is exceptional in that. It is.
We should bring them through a Shattered Throne.
Yeah, I've
done a Shattered Throne. Hello, yeah. I've done that.
Right,
and I didn't die in the jump puzzle, which is weird.
And but no,
that's true. Yeah,
I think that the boss that twice. There you
twice. You have to do it twice to get the bow.
That's true. Oh, that's true.
We have to do it 1.5 times to get the bow. We decided to finish it because we got the rewards.
But yes, Marv, I have done Riven legit. I love I love and I love the fact that when you beat the boss, you're not done. That's another great little stinger I like about the Last Wish. It's like, hey, we beat the boss. Okay, wait. What do you mean? Okay, you mean there's more? And then you got to do even more stuff. I love it. I absolutely love it.
It would betray the character if it was that straightforward.
Yeah.
It's a wish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about the deception, which she's had us on the hook for a year at this point, right?
So yeah. I did. So favorite mechanic is the Witch's Blessing it's both witch related. The Witch's Blessing, that is my favorite mechanic. My favorite boss is from my favorite raid, Riven.
Do you of your favorite bosses, because I know we're going to come up on a break, how much of that decision process, like choosing your favorite boss, how much of that is dependent on the encounter and how much of it's dependent on the story?
Mine's entirely story. If it was my favorite for encounter, it'd be the Eater of Worlds Hydra.
Okay.
Because I don't remember what it's called, but it's so cool. Especially if it was like physical design, because I love the design of that boss.
Oh, the design of the Hydra of the final boss in Eater of Worlds is beautiful, and I love, and again it's very much Riven-esque in that once you take the shields down, then you do boss damage, and then you got to sprint out to those floating platforms. Then you got to hit specific targets.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just multi-layered. It's very much like hacking into a computer. You got to get to one level of security, then get to another level of security, and then finally get to the core. And yeah, I agree with Brandon. Story to me is everything, which is why I think I'm not crazy about really the only thing about of all the Leviathan raids, I think the one that I enjoy the most story wise is Leviathan, is the original Leviathan. But then once the big reveal happens, you suddenly discover, oh, Callus is actually a robot. Okay. And then they tried to sell us on that again in the 2 raid layers, and I'm like, yeah, we know this already.
Like it was cool because you have that reveal, and then you finish Eater, and it's like, oh, there's less, and then you finish Spire, and there's like, oh, there's even less.
Yeah,
but there was no redemption to it.
Right, exactly, and that
it was just like.
So that was a little disappointing to me.
Marv said we never met Callus. We've only ever talked to him through
Callus.
through the frames.
Best thing about the Leviathan raid, my opinion, having watched it, having not done it, the best thing is how you start that encounter by shooting the chalice out of the door.
That is very cool. That is very cool.
Beautiful moment.
That is very cool. I
know Brandon didn't finish the first time you ran it, but the folks who were leading were like, "Hey, Brandon, you want to shoot the chalice out of everything?"
I remember that. Brandon does the honors. Yeah. But yeah, I would say it's all about story. I mean, I love the story of Last Wish. And I do love the story of I will say I do love the story of the Crown of Sorrow.
The lore's really good.
The lore's
Last Wish was the Forsaken one, right?
Yeah, the Dreaming City, right?
Dreaming City.
So candidly, story-wise, everything about the story for Forsaken is top shelf.
I would agree. Yeah. I would say that I think the Forsaken storytelling is right up there with Taken King. As much as I loved Rise of Iron, and Rise of Iron was my favorite of the expansions, but my favorite so far has got to be Forsaken. I love the Wild West feel about it. I love the revenge story aspect of it. I mean, it's a
Western, 100%. It's a Western.
Oh yeah. It's and not just any Western. It's an Eastwood Western.
It's an Ennio Morricone soundtrack Western.
Yes. Yes. Abso-friggin-lutely. Nice pull.
I think story-wise, you got to go. You kind of go Curse of Osiris, and then Black Armory, and then everything else.
Yeah, I wouldn't put Black Armory that high.
I was just checking, make sure you guys my mic was on. So
there we go. There we go.
Why was Curse of Osiris allowed to be that high?
Osiris, and then Black Armory, and then everything else.
Okay. In
the upside down.
Okay, so in closing, was there anything specific that Nick you wanted?
We haven't
to
talked
ask
dungeons yet, so we haven't.
I thought there was supposed to be a second half of the show.
So, was there any last minute things you wanted to ask us concerning raids?
If you had, so let's do this, right? So, closing thoughts, parting shots on raids. Anybody that you want to who is the individual most responsible for influencing you into doing raids?
Ooh, wow. Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm flattered. I'm your ZG photo.
You are. I mean, it's not a hard question for me. I just never get the chance because I run solo half the time.
Right.
And then 2, have the motive because 1, again, it's hard to get a team together for it, and 2, there are a few raids out there that I just don't want to do.
Well, yeah.
There are about 7 in Destiny 2 for me, but that's it.
Once again, Marv with the zinger. That makes me ZG Photoshop then.
Yeah,
Hail to the king, baby.
Very nice. Well, I mean, one of the things that I remember being very frustrated about was the fact that the Brandon, didn't run these raids, and I would run them, and he would get he would get a little prickly about it, and I'm just sitting there going, well, then screw it, let's get him in, because the thing was, my kid has been just a raiding machine, and now she's sherping people. She's where I would love to be. She's.
You'll get there. We can definitely get you there.
Oh yeah, I think we can.
I said we start with Eater.
Yeah.
There with the dungeon. It took 3 straight weekends for you to suddenly be like, dude, the dungeon prophecies. Whatever.
I
You know
would.
what I mean,
I don't know if I would ever go prophecy. I would.
in terms of navigating, getting somebody through it, knowing.
Oh, that. Yeah. No,
what
that.
ins and outs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing with a raid for prophecy. At least it's
Mhm.
an introduction of the mechanic,
Right.
a utilization of the mechanic, and then a boss fight with the mechanic.
Right. And I
And
would
that's the
say,
same thing every raid is.
The
yeah.
Miami Vice in the middle.
Right. With a little Miami.
Yeah.
Now I will say
Rainbow
this.
Road.
When you did that, T, I got to tell you, it worked so good.
Oh, you mean when I played the Miami Vice theme and then I was going down the ribbons?
Is it Jan Hammer? Or
Yeah,
who's
Jan
that?
Hammer. Jan Hammer. Yeah, man.
And it was like you started it, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna die, but God, this works. I'm sure.
I'll make sure to put a clip in the show notes, chat. I'll put a clip in the show notes.
Please do. So good, especially for anybody who actually watched the original Miami Vice. The movie remake was okay, but it
look.
I
When
mean,
it comes to
everything
80s riffing,
everything 80s short of having shoulder pads and doing coke. It was like right.
No. I mean, when it comes to if you want to know what was life in the 80s, just watch Miami Vice.
Yes.
With the young babyface Don Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas.
Yes.
Here's a poll for you.
That's not
Philip
the
Michael
young.
Thomas.
The young Don Johnson is in A Boy and His Dog.
Oh, that's true. That's
We're
true.
gonna go way
Dog.
back.
That's an even bigger poll.
Brilliant.
But,
Weird movie. And also the dog from that is also the dog from the Brady Bunch.
But
Same actor, same dog. Just so you know, like
Actor.
wow.
I have to interject useless trivia. Otherwise, I'm not contributing.
Perfect. But no, what
You're moderating.
I am moderating.
Now, the thing is, for myself, I would say the biggest influence for me doing raids was the earlier mention, and sadly he doesn't Destiny anymore. But he's been, still a friend of the show, friend of the stream, ZG Photo. I watched him stream raids, and I was just like, this actually looks like fun, because as I've said before, and I'll just keep it simple, my first raid experience was not the best raid experience, period. And it really turned me off. I just said, this may be just out of my reach. This may be out of my reach. But if there's something
Your first raid experience may have been bad, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as the one "don't shoot into my tether" at Eater.
Oh, that. You know what? The thing was, because okay. So
it was a lack of communication,
right? It was a lack of
because
communication.
none of them had known how to talk,
right?
I guess among to that group,
right? And
but
also keep in mind too. Yeah. Okay. So here's what happened. Let me go ahead and give you all a quick history. Yeah, I'm getting to that, Marv. So here's what happened. What Brandon is talking about is we being current meta. That's where Marv laughs. Current meta decided we wanted to do as a clan. We were going to do the guided games, right? We're gonna do guided games
into Eater of Worlds,
and we're gonna do Eater of Worlds, and we got this one very energetic, spry, sprightly hunter, and she was like, okay, let's do this. I'm really excited, and we couldn't figure out exactly why she chose to do guided games, because it was clear she had done the raids before. But we were like, okay, cool. So we were just running along, and as we were progressing, when we got to the boss fight, she started to jack the fire team and started making call outs and actually taking control of this thing that she was supposed to be part of guided games, right? And then she just became belligerent. Now, and then she turned a lot of her ire towards me, because by accident I was shooting into her. I was shooting at the ads coming through and getting caught in her tether. And she came down on me like a ton of bricks. And she was like, don't shoot in my tether. And then at one point I remember her going, you know what? I'm just going to sit back here and let you guys do your thing. Let me know when you really want to complete the raid. I mean, just really tore into me. And they were. So here's what she was doing. Apparently, the ads were tagged with the tether, but she was trying to create. I believe the strat was she was trying to create orbs, And the more
It wasn't a
had-
strat. It was an excuse.
Well, whatever the reason, that was what she told us. She said, if you don't shoot at the ads, just let them get tagged. We'll create more orbs. But the thing was, she was so nasty towards me. One of our teammates left because he was ready to tear into her, and he knew it was not going to be good. Dan pinged me both after the raid and the day after the raid to make sure that I was okay. Brandon pinged me, and this was the first time. Now, and you've heard me joke about it. Brandon loves to bust my chops. I mean, I always have to make sure I'm wearing a cup whenever we go live on this podcast, right? That being said, Brandon pinged me, and I just remember it was the weirdest tweet I ever got. I just got this. Are you okay? And I was like, yes. Question mark. and again, people were really, really, really worried that I would never come back to raiding. And yet I will tell you, my first raid experience was worse than this one hunter. Right. And Marv, like I said, the girl had an agenda.
Hunters.
And she
That's not what it was. Is the fact that she was. T, you're right. It's just Marv to explain it a little more. Is she was saying, don't shoot into my tether because the more that get tethered and the more that are tethered at once, the more orbs I generate. And the fact that it maxes at 7, leaving the tether up is completely useless.
right.
So you shooting into the tether would have done nothing but benefit you guys.
But-
And she was just
Brandon, you've learned this because as you start driving, if you took a percentage of the people on the road, there's a percentage of people who are assholes. And guess what? When you raid or when you do anything, and there's going to be a percentage of people who are assholes, and that's just how it goes.
And what was weirder still is that this hunter was in guided games. She was actually offering herself up as, hey, guide me through a game. But instead, it was just a weird situation. But I'm not. And Marv's. So yeah, we want to know the real kicker. Absolutely, Marv, serve it up. But the thing is that it's still, if you're a hunter, you should run Celestial Nighthawk.
She shouldn't have been on tether.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
that's fair.
But again, the point I'm getting at is that it was really after I did my first raid, and it was a terrible experience. I said, maybe this is just not my thing. And then I watched ZG Photo Raid, and I thought, I think I want to try this again. And when I went in with ZG, there's that clip that I always play with Z, where I took a deep breath, and then I hear this. I hear ZG and Chavez both go, take a deep breath, T, take a deep breath. This is only the beginning, my friend. And that's when I felt. That was when I felt, okay, I'm actually part of a team. I'm actually part of a team, and I've got a job to do. And then I started, I've raided with everybody. I've raided with Marv. I've raided with Brandon. I've raided with my kid. And I have met some really, really wonderful people through raiding, which is why it is such and just now, right before this stream, Dan Finity, Dan the man, Dan Finity himself, he put out a call. He said, hey, I'm doing runs for Anarchy. Does anybody want in? And I said, yeah, I'd love it. And we did the checkpoint. We were doing the checkpoint raid for Scourge of the Past, and I finally got my Anarchy. And we all
How you say
Anarchy. But again, it's that we were going back and forth. We were having a good time with it. I felt like I was doing my, they said, okay, T, your job is to snipe. And they put me on top of the left building, and I was just sniping at the boss, taking out the canisters. One shot, I was like, I think I'm actually getting a hang of this, And of course, it's gonna get shelved. It's gonna get vaulted. But you know what? I didn't feel like it was a hard carry, which was my first raid experience. Was a hard carry, and I didn't want a hard. And I made that clear. I said I don't want a hard carry. I want to be part of the raid. And that's what I think set ZG apart from that first experience, which is why I feel, and that's why I genuinely love the raiding experience. But when we get back from break, we're going to be talking about the dungeon experience, and we got some fun stories to talk about with the new dungeon, with Shattered Throne, all these different things. We're going to talk about that right after this break. And we're clear. And we're clear. You'll always be a hard carry,
Marv.
T. Yeah, but I'm your hard carry. You sexy, sexy devil, you.
Title of your sex tape.
Title of my sex tape, exactly.
Oh boy.
We can just make this a quick little 5-minute breather if we need
Yep.
if we
Yeah,
need
I'm
a
gonna-
break or anything.
I'm gonna hit the bathroom real quick.
Yeah, maybe TMI, but I'm gonna go double up on my deodorant because I've been outside for 4.5 hours.
You go right ahead. You go right ahead. In the meantime, you might notice, chat, we're wearing these. We're wearing our ritual motion stuff. We have got a new sponsor / affiliation with the show. It's Ritual Motion.
I got the Pride gloves in there.
Yeah,
Awesome.
the Pride gloves look beautiful. How do they feel, by the way?
So I need this. Like this is brilliant because I've been
take a
playing
ciggy
bass
break.
for hours and hours today, and there's this little
Yeah.
spot here
Yeah.
where because I play my bass too low and always have, these two bones touch.
Oh, okay.
And so there's gigs where it's just grinding and it's just absolutely painful. So popping that joint to kind of just get any type of room in there and then just having some stability it's been a blessing. So I'm happy to have them. I'm glad I paid for the wrist support.
Well, you were curious about the about whether or not I would get credit for the for the purchase. The answer is yes. And so you know what I'm planning to do since this is a happy hour thing as well as a T-Monster thing. Basically, anything that I make off of the affiliate link, I'm putting right back into the show. So it'll be going to the stream. It'll be going to stuff for happy hour, that sort of thing.
Outstanding. I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem. So yeah, the gloves are great, Spence. The gloves are great. Now, as many of you know, I've been wearing compression gloves since Christmas. Now, these were the original these were the Christmas compression gloves that I got, and these are nice. The biggest problem I had with these actually provide more compression than these. But here's where Ritual Motion, I think, actually does a slightly better product. These gloves, for an extra $5, does wrist support. That was not an option with these gloves. That's the first thing. Second thing is that these gloves were so tight that they were actually cutting into my hand right here, and that was no bueno. That was just no bueno. Hey Raven, how are you? Just got off work. I hope you're doing good. Gonna listen in the car. Fantastic. So
Almost unplugged my headphones.
Oh,
All right.
There we go. But while those gloves were okay, I'm really digging the feel and the comfort of the Ritual Motions. Plus, also you'll notice they got Pride gloves there. Brandon did String Theory, which is a pretty cool. I think that's a cool one. I did Universe. Mine's called Universe in Motion. So the Astronomy Geek loves that. And they have a wide variety of different.
Yeah, their
patterns.
variety is really good.
Yeah, it's a great choice, and I can only assume that they're gonna actually go even further with that. But yeah, if you do command sponsor at any time, that's our affiliate link. So anything that you do, that's going to go back to helping out in Happy Hour from the Tower and my stream. So thank you all for supporting our folks over at Ritual Motion. They've been, and that's ritualmotion.com, by the way. They've been digging the tweets. Not the tweets so much as they've been also digging the. They're very quick to respond on Instagram, I noticed. So that's very cool. I don't see why I wouldn't, Spence. I don't see why I wouldn't help with the crochet.
They're really good on the wrists.
Yeah. That's been. Hi there, Cat. Hey, Cat.
Title of your sex tape.
What are you doing, Cat? I can't trust you. If I take my ring off, you're gonna think it's a cat toy. And as soon as Nick gets back, I will also be going to the little Guardians room because I've been trying to stay hydrated. Hydrate. Make sure you're doing that, chat.
Following well in Spence's footsteps.
Yes, exactly. So was today just a band rehearsal? Is that what was going on?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
They set up in the garage and played for 4 hours.
That's
right, Dad?
Sounds like a good. Sounds like a good rehearsal then. Whoa.
To the groom.
And he's back. All right.
He's gonna take a tea break.
I gotta go take a quick Guardians room break, so I'll be right back, guys.
Cool.
Cheers.
Cheers. Why is he holding a controller?
I'm holding a controller because I had the controller from the earlier raid. All right, now I'm leaving.
Now we can talk bad about it.
The better question is like when either he or Pip go to the bathroom on Friday night streams, why are they still talking to each other? Like,
Fair point.
little privacy, please.
Yeah, privacy.
You'll be back. Wait and see. Oh my god. Get the Jolly Gamer ones when I get paid for the next pay. Oh, for Virtual Motion? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I love these. These are great. They're nice and supportive.
Yeah. Be warned, they don't have like they have parts between
the middle two fingers are together.
Yeah. It's weird.
They're Spider-Man gloves.
I suppose so.
See, that's like how he hits his web launcher thing. Is that?
Huh. I did not know that.
Or if you want to rock out at a concert, you can.
Can't do it with either hand. I think he's so bad.
Can't do that.
No.
This one's a little. This one's
do
broken.
this. Yeah, I can do this.
The broken one doesn't work.
Yeah.
You also say 3 like you're from Europe, which is that way.
Yes, I do. It's because of sign language. Like I only know 1 to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No.
No more Hamilton? You want to stop? Speaking of raids,
no warlocks is they're useless. You don't want Sunsinger warlocks in your raid team, Marv? Just in case the team goes down.
All Titans. 6 Titans. Let's go.
6 bubbles.
No, 6 Sunbreakers.
No.
No, you do the raid once and then it's just gone. It doesn't exist anymore.
Much like it would be logically. There would be no raid armor because you could only do the raid once.
That's right. And you get parts.
Yes.
Sunbreaker for Wrath for sure. Okay, cool. Good to know.
It's because it has a melting point. It can weaken the boss.
What do you recommend in Last Wish?
It's got to be bubble. It's always bubble. Spence got access to Menagerie.
Yay! Spence got access with the Menagerie. Fantastic. Fantastic. All right, Brandon, are you going to take us out with the attribution, by the way?
I can.
All right. All right. I just want to make sure. I don't want
What's the it's creativecommons.org, right?
Yeah, creativecommons.org.
Okay. Just to make sure it's the right thing.
While you were gone, I sent a full battalion to remind you of my love.
Da, 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 da. And the funny thing is that ever since watching Hamilton, I now am itching to watch Mindhunter again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know For anyone who didn't know, the
King George.
The actor that plays King George is also the actor that plays Holden Ford in the TV show Mindhunter, which if you haven't seen that on Netflix or elsewhere, it is phenomenal. It's a phenomenal.
Why is he holding a Ford?
Oh, bada bing. It's
we started watching Future Man.
Yeah, what is Future Man? What is Future Man anyway?
It's a very self-aware science fiction show. So there's this kid who's a janitor at science lab, and he plays video games, and he beats the unbeatable video game. And 2 of the characters from the game show up in his house because the video game's reeling a trading simulator from the future. And yes, they immediately reference The Last Starfighter. But throughout all of it, they're like, did I just Back to the Future myself? Like, there's like, it's all that, like, it's so in the know.
Okay, so it's very meta.
Yeah, and then the first fight scene, the 2 characters, they get jumped by these bikers, and as they're fighting, they do all their call-outs that they would do from the game. Like, it's like that in the know. And it's super craft. It's very obviously written by dudes, and the language is but it's got enough like just like what just happened, like that it's
got it.
We'll get through at least season 1. I don't know how we'll keep. I don't know if we'll keep going with that or Ozark. I think tonight is just going to be the repair shop, just so I can kind of get some brain bleach.
Yeah, just kind of there you go. All right. So we're going to go on ahead and we're going to segue into Dungeons.
It's just Josh Hutchinson, who's Peter from the Hunger Games. You're right, Spence.
There we go. All right.
I thought so. I recognized him. Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. So here we go. We are back for the second half in 3, 2. And we are back with the second half of Happy Hour from the Tower. I'm T.
I'm Nick.
I'm Brandon.
And we are done talking about raids, although we may be referencing raids a little later. But we are now going to be spending this half of the show talking about dungeons. Not that kind of dungeon. Get yourself some brain bleach. Clean it. Keep it clean. Keep it clean.
Next time.
Next time, though, we promise. No, we're talking about
lotion
dungeons.
on its skin.
Put the lotion on the basket.
Yeah.
Are you going to come up here?
Before we go there, so I know that that's what we expected to do, but because there is a limited number of dungeons, I wanted to bring up 2 things to surprise you both with. 3 O's. Surprise.
Surprise.
Yes.
Philippa
First is
surprise.
once again just happy birthday to the Queen, Courtney Taylor's happy birthday. The second is before we get to dungeons and before we even get to anything else raid related, this other little thing that pops up from time to time.
Uh-oh.
The community challenges.
Oh,
and the
wow.
quests that come out of nowhere. So like Whisper or was it Black
Outbreak.
Silver, or Outbreak? Like those things. Like where do they rank on? As soon as somebody finds that exists, you instantly have got to go like, oh man, I got to go see what this is. There's a
They rank
curveball.
pretty high on that list for sure. Like if we find out suddenly that Traveler's Chosen is there somewhere, like, and it's just been hidden, then I feel like I would 100% want to just grab it because, well, it's an exotic.
Yeah. Now, are we talking about? Are we talking about about where do we rank community events between dungeons and raids? I'm trying to get a grasp on the question. What do you mean about where do we put it in the priority of doing things? What are you talking about?
Yeah, almost like that's pretty much a good way to put it, right? So when something gets announced, like Outbreak or Whisper probably the best example.
Yeah.
Like, boom, like, oh my God, Bungie just dropped this other thing on us that they didn't tell us was happening.
You're talking about like an exotic quest or something like that with
any of those, and then also the same
Or
question.
Bastion.
the Bastion. Bastion's
But
another one.
also the same question for something like a community challenge, like we had to do cajillion escalation protocols, like those types of things. Like where does that pull you out of your normal play cycle and go, oh man, I totally want to contribute to blank.
Yeah.
We will redact the Seraph Towers from this conversation and go with the exotic weapons and then the other type of community events, because I believe we're going to get one before the season is over.
Based on how long it's delayed, probably.
Yeah.
That too. Yeah.
I've enjoyed the exotic quests. I really have.
Definitely.
I think I remember thinking that Whisper was, I don't know what it was about Whisper, where I felt like I was really struggling with Whisper and trying to understand how why I
There's no
couldn't-
guide to it in the mission is
Yeah.
the thing. It's you have to completely rely on, will this jump kill me?
Yeah, exactly.
Whisper was thank you for your help, Mario, but the princess is in another castle.
Yeah, pretty much. And
Well, they're only jumping for the first part.
couple with you, and I'm like, I can't even do this. Is killing me right now. So
I had to go solo it to get the last 5 eyes.
And the weird thing, the
my God.
weird thing about the Whisper of the Worm is that, I hated doing it, and then just recently I did it, and I was at the end of the when I was running. I was running it with Sunny. I was running it with my daughter, and maybe it was just being able to jump, on the PC or what have you. But I just flew through it. The next thing I knew, I was like, wait a minute, I'm at the boss fight. And I had no idea what it was that clicked between all the previous times where I was struggling against the jump puzzle, and when I finally did it. Now that being said, if you were asking me of all the exotic quest missions, what is it what was the one that I enjoyed the most? I definitely can say I enjoyed 0 Hour the most, because it was a return to the tower, and we find out that while we're trying to get the tower, they're trying to keep the tower back, and they're going to try to rebuild the tower or what have you. The Fallen have completely, they're scourging it, and I loved. I did get to the boss in Outbreak. I did. I got to the boss in Outbreak, and I did. I love that mission. And I think it was because we got to go into parts of the tower that we didn't know existed, and that I really genuinely enjoyed it. I did not do the heroic route. I have not run a heroic 0 Hour. I would like to, and again, I think the biggest frustration though about doing raids, doing dungeons, doing all this stuff is just making sure that I have the time to do it. And if I had one complaint about the exotic quests, my biggest complaint about the exotic quests is that they're all time gated. I would have loved to have taken my time going through the Whisper of the Worm, because I was just like, there's some stuff to explore here. I really wanted to explore the maps that they were creating, but you don't have time. It's like we got to keep moving, and maybe that's, to me, it's frustrating because there was so much more I wanted to see of 0 Hour. There was so much more I wanted to see of the Whisper of the Worm, and if I could have one request, it would be like, take the time gate off. Take the time gate off.
Yeah, at least for this last season. Yeah. Because Whisper's gone after Beyond Light drops.
Right.
And I would love to just see how that
whole map
could go. Yeah. I mean, when I was hunting for the eggs, I did it from memory and then got to the first fight with 14 minutes left.
Right.
It's not hard to get it down to a reasonable time where you can just explore, but it's really interesting seeing the different directions that they took in the Whisper mission, at least, because there's so many different directions on the map. There's one little ledge that you have to jump to that's like a mile away that you just have to literally jump and hope for.
Well, yeah, but I also know that there's that thought in the back of my mind is, okay, if there's a red light on that particular ledge,
that's where you're going.
That's where I'm going, and that's I just have to try. And I will say this: the thing, the best lesson that I took away from Whisper of the Worm, and that I always love this when the game teaches me something new, or let me rephrase that again, something new to me. Sure. I love that. And the thing that Whisper of the Worm taught me, trust your jump. Trust your jump mechanic. And the more I do that, the more I just the time gate was the challenge, though. There should be an explore mode where you don't get the gear. Okay, I'd be fine with that too, Marv. I'd be fine with that too. I would just love to go and explore. But yeah, I do love those exotic missions. But then there's the time to get, to that you want to dedicate to doing that mission, the time you want to dedicate to getting it done, and then where does that fall in the priority list? As Nick asked, where does that fall on the priority list of doing a dungeon versus doing a raid? And the raids, to me, it's an all-in kind of activity. You want to make sure that you have the time to complete it. Because I don't think there's anything more frustrating for me than to walk away from a raid and it's not complete.
Yeah.
But that's my thought on it. What about you, Brandon? Where do you stand on that?
I definitely think if there's a new exotic challenge out there, that it's probably one of my top priorities. Because I'm only missing 3 or 4 weapons, and it's like Legend of Acreus, 1,000 Voices, and then Heir Apparent, because I just really didn't want to do Guardian games. But for the most part, if there's a exotic weapon challenge out there, I will go to get it done, because I know at some point it's going to be used.
Right.
Or at least I will want to try it out. I use Le Monarch, and I can bet 3 other people use Le Monarch. But I also didn't let go of my Thorn for the entirety of Season of Opulence.
That was such a great time, though. That's that Thorn mission was so good.
That so damn 2 hours.
Good. Yeah. Well, hell,
But yeah, no, I think
the
it's
Ace of Spades quest was brilliant. I love
Exactly.
the Ace of Spades quest. Yeah, and that
when they do exotic missions, they do them well.
yes.
That's
But
for sure.
but the difference with the Ace of Spades, now Marv said this: there's not enough legit tough things to do in Destiny. But I don't think the Ace of Spades was an easy quest. But the fact that it wasn't story gate, there wasn't time gated, and there was such a good story behind it, and the Thorn Strike was that, yeah, exactly. But again, it wasn't time gated. Make it tough, fine, but don't make
Yeah,
it.
but the thorn stuff wasn't original. It was just a reused strike, and I think that's that argument
Well, okay,
is because
Yeah.
it's
but
So
it was
Marv,
ramped
you-
up. It was a ramped up version though of that strike.
yeah,
And
but it
happened.
still wasn't an original idea like Whisper or Outbreak.
Yeah.
So Marv, you and Brandon do the same thing, which is when something the exotic quest is brand new, you go do it, and then it gets babysat and gets made
And
easier.
that sucks. And that sucks.
Yeah, and I know that's something that
Yeah.
it's a thorn in one of Brandon's paws sometimes
Yeah.
that
And I would
he's got
agree.
to.
So that's a reckoner. God.
All right, Nick. So what have you got
Back
for us
to the-
concerning dungeons?
The topic
go to-
at hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Dungeons.
Marv-
Yes.
Marv, just, yeah, least fun. Even worse when you solo queue. Continue.
Now, do you get to yours from inside of the house, or do you try to hide it so you get to it through the crawl space? And or do you?
Wrong dungeon, dude. Wrong dungeon. Wrong dungeon. Wrong dungeon.
Okay, so Korean
See
Swing
what?
versus Iron Maiden.
Try it
that's
again.
not-
Try it again. Try it again.
Korean Swing versus Iron Maiden. We don't know.
No,
Okay,
no.
sorry. Kind of dungeon. All right, sorry.
I'm more of an Ozzy Osbourne fan anyway, so let's not even talk about the Iron Maiden. Let's go ahead.
Okay, well, by all means, howl at the moon. Bark at the moon. Sorry. Okay, bark at the moon. All right, so here we go. So how many dungeons? So there were no dungeons in D1. Dungeons are a new construct in D2.
Right.
Yes.
And there are three?
Tres.
Yes.
Three
Three.
dungeons.
Currently.
Three
And
dungeons.
so Shattered Throne, Pit of Heresy, and Prophecy.
Right.
Which Prophecy got a little stay of execution because that's only here for one season. And that season got extended, which was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I saw a thing about that. It was like, we want Prophecy to stay forever, but season 11 ends up lasting forever.
Yeah.
There you go. So
Right.
these do not come out per season. These are not like a typical DLC. They're sort of hit or miss every second, every third. Like
It was 2 expansions in a row, and then they'll just randomly, because of this tells us what's going to happen in the future.
Right.
It was their choice
Right.
to put it in here
Right.
for
Okay.
Prophecy.
so. Shattered Throne takes place where?
Shattered
Dreaming
Throne
City.
takes Dreaming City on the Ascendant Plane.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Pit of Heresy takes place where?
Tamu.
Scarlet Keep.
On
Yep.
the moon.
In the
And then
Scarlet Keep.
Prophecy is
And the
The
prophecy.
Realm of the Nine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes it
such
so
a
which makes it
story.
so freaking trippy. Which makes it so freaking trippy.
Yeah.
And the thing
I
was,
love it though.
yeah, well, that's the thing. When Prophecy first came out, I had people saying, this is the best dungeon they've ever done. This is the best one." And I'm like, I don't know if I could say it's the best dungeon, but after running it that third time, I'm like, yeah, it's starting to feel like I'm starting to come around about how much I really enjoy doing Prophecy. How much fun it is. I still feel like the one thing I'm struggling with is where to look for Toland and find which. I mean, am I supposed to be looking on where Toland is, or am I supposed to be looking at where Toland is facing?
There's circle plates on the walls.
Right. I know that.
And you need to find which one he's on, and then look directly below him to the beam that's shooting up. And if it's light or dark, that's the one you need to be doing.
Got it.
And then if he's on top, you have to look at the cube and see which one doesn't have a
symbol
on
it.
there. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
it makes more sense when you look at it.
yeah, and I think next week when you, me, and Sunny do it again for the for the armor, I'm gonna just have to really focus on that. But it's so disorienting when you get back in there. But no, I've really grown to love Prophecy. But I think I like something about all of them. I love.
Oh yeah.
I've always been fascinated with the Ascendant Plane. I've always been fascinated by it. And the Shattered Throne, that's all it is. And the Ascendant Throne was actually the Shattered Throne was the first time I ever tried to solo the dungeon. And I made it as far as I didn't make it past the ogres. But the fact that I made it to the ogres, the fact that I made it to there, Wow. I was
It'll
like,
still be around.
oh yeah,
That
yeah.
and Pit are staying at least.
And I enjoy Pit. I love the Pit. I know
I
that
need to
there.
go. Oh, I need to go solo flawless for that because I want to get Harbinger.
So okay, but I wanted Brandon to kick us off. So Brandon, what do you, when you think about the dungeons on a whole, what do you think of? What's a standout for you? What is a standout for you about each dungeon or the dungeon experience? Yeah, the dungeon experience.
Well, it's definitely a smaller capacity raid, I guess, but still with mechanics that you can go solo it, and that is a great way they did it because it gives a challenge and actually gives you a reason to farm for those specific challenges to get the title that shows it off
Mm-hmm.
or have the triumph or the emblem that shows it off. I think they're definitely something that Destiny needed. At
I
least
would agree.
Shattered Throne showing up randomly on the third week cycle of the Dreaming City, and everyone being like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, yeah, I remember
Uh,
that. They were like, "What
and then
is this?"
getting the announcement in the pit, Vidoc that they were like, or in the Shadowkeep Vidoc where they were like, "We're gonna give you a new dungeon," and that reveal alone was worth it.
Yeah, I would agree. I would
Yeah,
agree. I would agree. I my biggest gripe about the Pit of Heresy is that I haven't done it enough. And
that's fair.
I mean, now
It's
granted,
a hard dungeon.
no, it's a hard dungeon, but the thing when I say I haven't done it enough, I'm not saying I haven't done the boss fight enough. I mean, I feel like I got the mechanics of the boss fight. I've got it. I know the mechanics of the boss fight because the people that I have been that I have run it in the past, it's like, well, I got a checkpoint, and I'm just like, I want to do the whole raid. I want to do the whole
Dungeon.
thing. The whole dungeon. Hey, Jackie, I want to do the whole dungeon, and I've actually been told it's not worth the time. I'm like, then why are we doing this? I mean, we're doing this so that we can get the gear. I get it. We're getting the gear, but I want to do the whole thing because one, developers worked really hard to get this thing to look right.
Oh yeah,
And it's
especially
beautiful.
the boss design.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the thing I love about the Pit of Heresy is that it is everything I loved about Shadowkeep. It is dark. It is dingy. It is terrifying. I love that. I love it. And so it's really hard. I think it's even harder for me to find people to run the dungeon, to run the Pit of Heresy specifically, than it is to find for the raid. And so. Go for it. Go for it, Nick.
Yes, from a motivation standpoint, and it could be a sliding scale depending on the individual dungeons. But so you brought up a great point, which was I'm more motivated by the story or the design or the investment that has gone into this particular thing than I am for what the reward is.
Right.
And is that the norm, or is it depends on each? You kind of weigh each of them differently depending on what you get at the end.
I personally think there are two types of players in Destiny. There are the players that are in it for the experience. There are people that are in it to experience it and to, they want to learn it. They want to be able to Sherpa people through it, and they want to have they want to go through all of the challenges along the way. And then there are other Destiny players that are like, I want the shortest point from A to B. I want to get in, get out, and I want to have all the shiny gear. And I am not the most efficient player, but it's because I want to go on ahead because I don't want the shortcut. I took a shortcut once in this game and I regret it. And
That's fair.
And since then I have been wanting to do things from beginning to end, because the other reason of just jumping to the end and doing the boss fight, okay, so I've got the mechanics for the boss fight, right? I got the mechanics for the boss fight down. I got it. But you know what? The mechanics at the beginning, no, I don't have those. I don't have a lot of those mechanics.
Well, it's because that's the introductory mechanic to the boss
Right.
fight. That's the whole point of every encounter
But
in
yeah,
every
right.
end game thing in Destiny.
But it's also, I mean,
It's always a line.
right. But along with the mechanics of that, there's the mechanics of avoiding the God, I almost said trolls. Avoiding the ogres, right? Avoiding the ogres and opening the gates. And then there's navigating through the caverns, and then there's also the fight at the altars.
Mm-hmm.
I get the mechanics at the altars. While you're taking out snipers while a third is sending off to get the orb and bring it back. I mean, I genuinely love going through the Pit of Heresy from beginning to end. But I get a little frustrated when people are like, well, we don't have to do that. We can just do the boss fight. I'm like, it's one thing if you're doing a grind. If you're doing a grind like in the case of Danfinity, I've got the checkpoint for Scourge of the Past. We want to get people anarchies, so and he said that we're just doing the boss fight. But then
that's really noble of him.
Yeah, I mean, and good on him.
That's like a charitable cause. That's not a oh, this is only for me.
Right. No. He's doing this to say, I want to make sure people get anarchy. So here we go.
Yeah.
And but that is different from saying, okay, I want to get the pinnacle gear, so let's just go in, boom, get it, we're out. And then I'm like, okay, well then what's next? And these same players that are taking shortcuts are also the same players that are going, there's nothing to do. Well, no, there is nothing to do because you basically just took all the shortcuts. So my thoughts about my biggest frustrations is that I sometimes find it harder to find people that want to do a whole Pit of Heresy with me, and and fortunately, if I want to run a Pit of Heresy, I have the option of going to my daughter and saying, you want to run a Pit of Heresy? She's like, absolutely, and she wants to do the whole thing. And I'm like, good on you, girl. Good on you. I raised you right. In that respect. But with but I would say that about any of the dungeons. I mean, if you can get the checkpoint for the final boss battle for Prophecy, okay. But you know what? If you do that, if you skip to the end, you miss out on that great desert location that's got all the different locations of
the wasteland.
Of the wasteland. You miss out on the ribbon run, which I think is just a blast. And I'm in it for the experience. And I want to legit learn how these dungeons work so that I can do more or less what Danfinity did today. Hey, you haven't run a dungeon? Let's do it. I'd be more than happy to Sherpa it for you.
Yeah.
And that'd be my one complaint. But I love doing the dungeons. I love them. I love all three of them. But
yeah, me, I'm just as excited to get a new piece of lore than more so than a weapon or a piece of armor.
Yeah, exactly.
If so, there's no. All right, my question for T first, and then a real question. So complete the sentence for me, T. The Prophecy dungeon feels like a remake of blank, and your options are Tron, Crawl. I'm just gonna stop there.
No, you're missing my third option, Miami Vice.
The Black Hole.
Oh my God! So we showed the opening of the Black Hole to Sunny, and she was like, "What is this?" And I went, Sunny, this is the most expensive movie Disney made for a long time, and they didn't make their money back.
No,
and it went absolutely great soundtrack, great score, but it went abso-friggin' nowhere.
Should be your feature film for Slightly Off Key.
It is. It's the opening. It's the opening.
Roger is definitely coming in to Slightly Off Key.
Yeah.
I can't stress enough that piece of crap Coke product placement ET ripoff that has Alan Silvestri doing the score. It is
what is this?
Roger and Me. If you for the last 15 years, every time Paul Rudd has come on Conan O'Brien, he's talking about whatever project he's going to do, and he's shown the same scene from Roger and Me where the kid's wheelchair goes down the hill, and then it goes into the lake, and it's very obviously a mannequin.
Right.
Cat knows what I'm talking about. And it was an ET ripoff that they were like, it's like Coca-Cola product placement, and it lost its ass, and it was it's a horrid movie. But if you listen to the score, if you didn't look at the movie and don't listen to the score, you'd be like, this is a pretty big. It's the battle. It's like what was oh my god, the guy from Friends we talk about as an action hero.
Oh, Matt LeBlanc.
Matt LeBlanc action hero. It's like that level score, but a way worse movie.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn.
And I laughed because when you guys were playing, and I was the only one who got it. But a couple weeks ago, when Pip was playing the shark game, there was a Roger and me waypoint, and I'm like, oh my god! Like they straight fitted into the game. It's like when you guys when you were playing the other night and they went to SpongeBob's house.
Oh yeah. I'm telling you.
So good.
This. All right. So quick tangent, and then we'll get back to the
Another
topic.
quick tangent.
Yeah, another quick
Yes,
tangent.
and then I have a legit question,
Yeah.
and then we can finish.
So, quick tangent. If you are not playing the game Maneater, you are missing out.
So good.
Maneater is one of the most underrated games of this year. It has so many deep pulls of pop culture and geek history. It amazes me. They have references to C-Lab 20 and C-Lab 2021, SpongeBob SquarePants, Demolition Man, and just the titles that the different quests you go on as a shark, they're all puns from pop culture. It is absolute. There was one quest you went on when better get Mako, M-A-K-O, and you had to eat 10 Mako fish. And I'm sitting there going, oh my god, I'm losing it. And Pip being from New Zealand didn't get the reference. And I said, chances are, Pip, you're not old enough to get the reference. You know?
There was an auto repair shop called Mako, Maaco, back in the day.
Yep.
And so the fact that they went with better get Mako, Mako, it's like it. I think I can be the guy who throws out, go for it, Eddie. We really need a strike, and nobody gets that because it's an old bowling company ad from like 1982 or something like that.
Right.
Whereas like anybody who lives in our area can sing the Appliance Connection jingle on demand. Like we all know it, like because it's so bad and it's been on local TV for so long. They were like, oh, here we go, right? So, yeah, okay. So tangent. So Maneater, amazing.
Yeah, great game.
Hilarious.
And with when you add to that the narration from Chris Purnell, who plays the voice of Cyril Fergus from Archer, it just ramps it up to a whole new level.
And his dialogue, whoever wrote that dialogue.
Oh my god, amazing. Okay.
As soon as Pip gets into the spot with all the yachts, we were like, oh my god, because there's Sirius XM for the summer has a yacht rock radio.
Ugh, yeah.
And it's all that, and the way that they do the ads for it is yacht rock radio's back for the summer.
Yacht radio, Danny, it's back for the summer.
It's not even that. It's just like the slimy.
Yeah.
Like untether me. It's time to go. Yeah, and also don't kill anything in my tether. So callback joke. Okay.
Okay.
Yes and. Okay. That was for Brandon. Yes and.
Yes. And...
So here we go. If you were at the virtual conference table, because there are no real conference tables being used right now.
Right.
If you were in the meeting room with the devs for move on to the next season, and they asked for what would you want if you had influence into the next dungeon, whether it's the look, whether it's the villain, whether it's the storyline, whether it's the boss, whether it's the reward, like any of those things, like what would initially, just off the top of your head, because I know we didn't prep this, I'm just trying to challenge both of you. Right. I know Brandon loves the Vex, but he might be vexed out at this point. And you can say a new villain, it's fine too. But like, what would some of your asks be if you had a chance to sort of bend the ear of the devs?
Please, no more Taken.
That's fair.
I am done with the Taken. I am done with the Taken. I would rather face Vex in a. I would rather face the onslaught of Vex in a dungeon than face the Taken again. I would love to have. I would love to have a dungeon that has the the manic feel of the prophecy, but also have that same kind of vibe that that we got with the Vex challenges. I genuinely, and I think that was one of the reasons why I enjoyed Garden of Salvation so much as a raid, is because it was sort of a callback to the Vex challenges, the Vex storms, and things like that, and I loved that. So we've had a dungeon, we've had 2 dungeons involving Taken. We've had a dungeon involving the Hive. I'd like to see a dungeon with the Vex. One, I bet the architecture would be crazy. It would be crazy pants. It would be all the weirdness of prophecy, but with all the cyberpunk of Garden of Salvation. And I would love to see that. I would love to see a Vex dungeon. That would be utterly mind blowing in my opinion. And if we couldn't get that, I wouldn't mind seeing. Now there we go.
Oh, yeah,
that would be
go,
another
Marv.
good one. That you read my mind, Marv. You actually read my mind. I would love to see the Fallen, and if it was the Fallen, then let's do the Fallen on Europa, on one of the new spaces.
If we get a Dungeon and Beyond Light, it's gonna be on Europa.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
I would agree. Yeah, that goes without that. Vex can eat a fat one. Screw them if they make a Vex dungeon. I'm quitting. Damn,
Oh,
Jackie.
boy.
Don't hold back now. Don't hold back.
That's it, man. Woo! Game over, man. It's game over.
But that would be what I would say on the virtual front. What about you?
I would say it's a dungeon that begins with Fallen and then ends with Scorn.
Oh, God, the Scorn. Okay.
But that's the whole point of the Scorn.
Yeah.
They're resurrected Fallen.
Tied into any of the outlying stories, like Sabbath. Name it.
Give us House of Exile. Finally, House of Exile. Something, even if it's like, oh, you know what? Nope, I got it. Splicer Fallen.
Hey,
Yep.
now
Resurrected
we're talking.
into
now
Scorn.
Now we're talking.
Wait, so basically Siva Scorn.
Yes,
Siva Scorn.
Ooh.
I could get behind that.
on Europa somewhere,
I could
So I would
get behind that.
or Earth. Yeah,
So that's what I was thinking would be
it'd be
take
the Plague Lands, right?
take an old map and say, you know what, we haven't been here in a long time.
Yeah.
If Siva was let loose, because that's we talk about, anytime I can work Siva into the story.
Yeah.
Like, what are the new structures? Just like we did with the moon, where the Scarlet keeps.
The
pretty
Hive
cool.
evolved. Yeah.
So what have the Fallen, the Splicer Fallen been doing on pick a map on Earth D1?
Yeah.
And whether they've completely overtaken the NPC area from Rise of Iron, or go back all the way to the Cosmodrome, you name it, you pick it, but make it completely enhance, consume, replicate, right? So make it into something where there's a dungeon that before was, because the ramp up the act 1 of that, where you're going to travel over through all the places that you're familiar with. Like, God, I remember being here. But that thing right there was not in the equation.
Exactly.
Super cool. Yeah.
I can see that. I could definitely see that. I'd love that. I would love that. All
So
right.
Brandon, I threw one at T. Let me throw one at you.
All right.
Okay.
If they brought a new one in, and it was Vault of anything but glass. So let's say the new dungeon is Vault of blank.
Mm-hmm.
What would you want it to be?
I don't know. There's a lot of Vex mines, right?
Vault of Iron, Vault of Time, Vault of
That would be cool.
Wishes.
Oh my God! A Vault of Time. No, see the Vault of Time, and then you have a
Vault
dungeon.
Of, all right, Marv, you're in the penalty box.
Stop that.
Sit out.
But I mean, think about that. A dungeon in the corridors of time. That would be a ball.
That'd be pretty cool.
That would be cool. I would not mind at all returning back to the corridors of time. That was actually that's also very tempting.
I think I really would love the idea of a Vault of Time.
Yeah.
Because you could actually
do it.
One of the stages of the dungeon, you could actually throw a sundial event in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what if so what if it's like you start in the future, do an encounter there, which brings you to the past. Then you alter the past to go back to that future in the altered timeline, and that's where you fight the boss.
So long
I
as we
think
get,
that would be amazing.
so long as we have to make sure that we get on our sparrows and hit 88 miles per hour, because otherwise we can't get to the other parts of the vault, right?
Correct. That's right.
That works for me.
That's right.
So Nick, do you have anything in closing for us? Because we should probably wrap up this episode.
You think I've written any of this crap down? No, man.
You're doing great, man. Because like you said at the very beginning, this isn't your first rodeo, right? So
this is me moderating Sparrow Racing League. Is exactly what this is. Just kind of like where we go next.
Wow,
Okay, let's go.
Then it'll be the both of us just talking to Brandon, I think.
Yeah. No. So no,
I never did Sparrow Racing League, right?
I thought you did. I thought you were all
No.
You did.
He just drives like you did.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
In the game.
As of now.
Yeah. So yeah, no. So I'm good. I think you guys we're going close to 2 hours. You guys did a lot of great opinions and opining on these different things that we kind of threw out there, and chat's been very lively, and we appreciate that as we always do. And
thanks everybody. We do appreciate that.
Yeah, we definitely do. So again, I'm more of a spectator. I don't have a blonde Texas cheerleader wig. I just have a brown one. I'll throw my pom-poms and say I hope you guys are successful at every raid that you ever do and every dungeon that you ever do. Last wish, Brendan. So
we're working on that. We're working on.
I'm not a question.
We're gonna try to coordinate all that.
All right, good.
But the
make it
but
number
one of the
one.
other things, Chad, if you ever want to catch us doing this, Brandon and I are now doing this weekly thing with my daughter Sunny. We get on the PC side of things, and the three of us go through Prophecy. Brandon is going after the Hunter gear. I'm going after the Warlock gear. I'm on my last piece. Brandon's got 2 more to go, which means I got 2 more to do. And I'm digging it. I'm digging it. And what's great about doing the whole Prophecy is you're actually getting two suits, 2 sets of really nice armor. You're getting the Trials of the Nine Coda armor, and that's gorgeous.
It was year 1 stuff.
Year 1 stuff. And then on top of that, you're getting the stuff from the actual Prophecy dungeon, which is the Moonfang X2. Is that the right?
I think X7.
X7.
Dido.
It's Moonfang. It's the Moonfang armor, and it's just.
It would
just
suck
great.
if it was Moonfang C6 armor.
Yeah, be nice. But you know, we're having a good time. We're having a good time getting there, and I could easily see myself farming this every week because it's just a blast to do.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's a great time. It's a really great time. So if you've got favorite dungeon stories, if you've got favorite raid stories that you'd like to share with us, we would love to hear what you have to say about raids, about dungeons, about what you're hoping is coming in the next New Light season. So feel free to reach out to us at 703-791-1701. You can also reach us at podcast@happyhourfromthetower.com. Or you can come on ahead and join us on stream at twitch.tv/TheTmonster. That's my stream. But now Brandon is streaming. And Brandon, they can find you at twitch.tv/
Thermal Wolf 42, all one word and 2 Fs.
And if we're ever
I'm gonna end up changing that. So.
And if we're streaming, if I'm streaming and Brandon is streaming, yes, we will be setting up a multi and making that work.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much for joining us. Brandon, what can you say about this podcast?
Oh, this podcast is protected by a non-commercial, no-derivative, share-like United States 3.0 license, and you can find out more about that at creativecommons.org.
Nicely done, I will say. Nicely done, sir. But you are not a Jedi yet. But it is awfully damn close.
I did my hair too.
There we go.
I'll show you my anarchy. Ooh.
Oh. And you tell me about it. And so on behalf of Nick, on behalf of Brandon, eyes up, Guardian. Time to give up the ghost. The first round's on us. And we are clear. That's episode 65, A Happy Hour from the Tower. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much, everybody in chat, for joining us. We really do appreciate it.
Marv, that was practiced for about 10 seconds.
On it. He was on it.
That's memorized to me now.
So right now, I'm going to go on ahead and let AutoHost do his thing. I'm going to go on ahead and wrap up this stream. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us. We may be back, we being me and Pip, we may be doing some Fireside lore tonight, but I want to see how hot it is outside before I fire up the fire pit.
It's bonkers.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
Bonkers.
That's what I
Stay inside. Play Maneater. Go in the basement. Go sit where it's cool.
On that note, everybody, thanks a lot. Have a good night.